Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new German Tier 10 premium tank destroyer, the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST Turm. Now if you do like the video, as always don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the GST Turm, it is the tank that you can get currently in the Ultimate Pass for essentially 4,000 gold, because you do get 2,000 of that gold back from the Season Pass. And what do I think of it? Well, I don't think it's the greatest tank in the universe. To be honest, I don't think it's that good at all. And a lot of that is because, well, you have poor DPM with not the best gun handling, which I could live with if the armor worked, because one of the strengths of this vehicle is the mobility is absolutely fantastic. It absolutely tanks it along at 68 kilometers an hour. You have no problem with the mobility of this vehicle, which means you get to very aggressive spots quite easily. But the armour tends to let you down on this vehicle quite a lot, because it is only 250mm of thickness on the front of the turret and the lower plate. It just tends to get butchered by tier 9 and 10 premium rounds, which is really, really frustrating. Sometimes you feel like the armour on this tank is really good, and then sometimes it feels like the armour on this tank is absolutely worthless, and you get absolutely butchered, and it's very, very annoying. So realistically for me, if I was to change anything about this vehicle, I would keep the lower plate the way it is, but I buff the turret armour so that the turret front armour is actually way better than 250, so that if I do go hull down and I use the 10 degrees of gun depression this vehicle has, I will bounce a good amount of shots off these cheeks. But a lot of the time, 300 plus heat rounds tend to just go straight through it, and it is supremely frustrating when you're in a position where you feel like you should be okay, but it just doesn't work out. And especially with the gun handling not being very good, it can be pretty frustrating, because you do have to spend a bit of time managing to aim the shots so they can actually hit. Also, the roof armor is overmatchable, which can be pretty frustrating as well. But like I said, the mobility is fantastic. I personally haven't enjoyed this tank that much because of the armor being so poor and the gun handling being a bit poor as well. And I don't particularly think this is worth it as a well, the Ultimate Pass discount is always very, very good, but unlike the T4, the Leclerc T4 from the last season, that was way more worth it than this vehicle, for example. But without further ado, let's get into the statistics of the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST. So as you can see, it's got a 68 km/h top speed with a 20 km/h reverse speed, 1,100 horsepower engine, which is 22.37 horsepower per ton ratio. The mobility on this vehicle is fantastic. You will hit the 68 km/h top speed very, very easily, and you will have no problems with that whatsoever. 20 km/h reverse speed for this kind of vehicle is also pretty damn nice. 12% internal fire chance means that you are on the lower end of fire chances, which is pretty good. 1,900 hit points means that you've got a decent slab of hit points to trade with, but it's not the best in the universe. You've got 24 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is very slow, and you might want to help that with the traction system or clutch braking, because it is very, very slow to turn this vehicle, and that is a bit of a letdown with the mobility the way it is, and especially with having a limited turret traverse vehicle as well. You've got very good terrain resistances, which means they do not hold your top speed back whatsoever. 341 meters of steel concealment is okay. You can get that down to about 270 odd with the build that I ran, which means that you are a fairly stealthy tank destroyer if you use it in the right positions. And that means you can play it as a tank destroyer quite easily as well, which is always nice. It's nice to have that flexibility from, you know, brawling to having a more stealthy playstyle for a tank destroyer like this. 390 meters of view range, again, is slightly below average for tier 10, because a lot of them are running, you know, 400 plus. So 390 is a little bit sub-average, but at the same time you can still get a very, very good view range with the build that I run, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. You've got 20 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which is again slow, and because you have a 40 degrees of traverse left or right on this turret, because it is limited traverse, it does feel very slow, but you don't feel it that badly, because you can't traverse the gun that far to the left or that far to the right. But it's something you might want to help if it does annoy you. You got 1.66 accuracy during rotation, which is pretty atrocious, with 6.12 accuracy during movement, which is utterly atrocious. It means the aim circle on this vehicle becomes massive. The gun bloom is rather large on this vehicle after moving, and it means that you do feel this 2.5 second aim time quite badly, and it does feel like it takes forever to get this gun aimed in, which is partly why this gun feels so terrible sometimes. And that's because you really want to help this accuracy during movement and rotation if you can, because it is really poor. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, which is damn solid. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is, again, absolutely fantastic. If the turret armor was better, this would be a hull down, very, very good tank. You've got 9.8 second reload, which is 2.4k DPM, which for a tier 10 TD is not good, particularly. A lot of TDs are pushing 3k plus DPM, so 2.5k DPM isn't good. But to be honest, like I say, if the armor worked out better with the way that the mobility is and the decent camo, I could live with it. But the armor doesn't hold up, and that is pain. which is a little bit annoying, so you do feel how slightly poor this reload is as well. You have 0.36 base accuracy at 100 meters, which is getting onto the derpier end of accuracies, because once you're going above 0.35 accuracy, that's where your gun is starting to get noticeably more inaccurate at distance. You got that 2.5 second aim time, like I say, which you feel with the accuracy during rotation and movement. You have AP Heat and HE, which you have 45 rounds of, which has 265 penetration on the standard AP rounds, and 310 penetration on the Heat rounds, with 60 penetration on the HE, for 400 alpha or 515 with the HE. 1200 meters a second shell velocity on that standard AP rounds is really quite nice for AP, that's above average. With 1000 meters a second shell velocity on the premium Heat rounds and the standard HE rounds, which means that generally they are a little bit slower. They're a bang average shell velocity, because I would say 1000 meters a second is bang average. It's where it doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel good. And that means you have to give a little bit more lead than your standard rounds, where 1200 is pretty nice for AP. 265 penetration is good enough to go through most of the tanks you're going to face, but if you really do struggle with some of the super heavies, you can just load 310 pen Heat rounds, and you will have a great time and go through most of them. And especially if you're shooting it yourself, you're probably just going to load Heat and you'll butcher your armor very, very easily. You have no bonuses, really, as a Tier 10 Premium, because a lot of the Tier 10 Premiums don't have silver bonuses or Commander XP bonuses. You just have a little bit of vehicle earn XP rate, right? 5%, free XP earn rate, 5%. That's what you get for being a Tier 10 Premium. If you buy this thing thinking you're going to get better crew training or better silver, that is generally not the case for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST. So let's have a quick look at the modules of the vehicle. So as you can see, that's where the ammo racks are on the tank. I haven't been ammo racked realistically in this vehicle that much, because they are quite a small target to hit, so it's quite nice that it hasn't really been ammo racked that much. The engine block is at the back like that. If you do get shot in this back end, which is rather large and very easy to pen, they will break your engine, so you've got to be very careful of that. But with the 12% internal fire chance, it hasn't been set on fire that much for me yet, touching wood, naturally. There's where the crews sit as well for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST, sorry, not GFT. Let's have a quick look at the armor. So as you can see, the armor is 250mm of thickness on this upper plate and lower plate, which, like I say, just tends to get butchered by premium rounds. It's a bit of a pain, realistically, for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST. So it's something you've got to be very, very careful of generally. Like I say, if the turret armor on this vehicle was a lot better than 250, maybe like 280, 290, this tank would be very, very good hull down, and it would be very nice to play when you're hull down. But even so, 300 plus Heat rounds, like I say, just go straight through this thing, and it is very, very frustrating when it does. Also, the turret roof is only 20mm of thickness, as you can see here, which means if people are shooting slightly down on you, they will overmatch the roof of your turret roof very, very easily, and it's very, very frustrating in that regard. I would probably buff this up to like 42mm, so that 122 plus caliber, it has to be a 123mm caliber gun or higher to actually go through it. But yeah, that can be very, very frustrating for the vehicle. You've got 76mm of side armor, so if you angle like this, you can actually ricochet shots. You just got to be careful of them going through the turret cheeks, generally, on the 3GST. So what do I run in terms of crew and equipment on this tank? Well, I run food, naturally, because that makes everything better in the tank. The advanced loader, optics to be able to spot for myself, and the camo net. Camo net to get the camo down as low as possible. Optics to be able to spot for myself, because you just need view range, so you can actually see the opponents at decent distances. And mixed with having the good camo, you can spot them at very good distances and farm away without getting spotted, which is quite nice. And the advanced loader to make the best out of the DPM, because the DPM is low on this vehicle. You want to be able to make that better, generally. And then in terms of a crew, I have stuck it in the Jagdpanzer E100. So let's put it back into the GST. And I do run the Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise, and Clutch Braking. Clutch Braking, because the track traverse is terrible, and I want to make that better if I can. The Camouflage Expertise, just to knock the camo down a little bit, so again, I can play that stealthy role of a tank destroyer if I need to. The Steady Aim and Run and Gun, to make the accuracy generally better by 10%, and the accuracy better on the move by 10% as well. Getting that horrific accuracy during movement down as low as I possibly can, because it is utterly atrocious, and it does help the gun bloom a little bit if I do make it better with Run and Gun and Steady Aim. Track Mechanic, because we are a limited traverse turret, so if we get tracked, it means we'll be absolutely boned, and I don't want to be stuck in a position where I've not got a repair kit and I get tracked and people get around me very, very easily. And generally, these 5 perks you're going to run on every tank in World War II. So let's have a look at the statistics of the vehicle now while it's fully equipped. And as you can see, we've got slightly better ground resistances again. Our hull rotation speed is now 26 degrees a second, so slightly better than it was. 272 meters of steel concealment is really quite nice, but 311 on the move isn't quite as good. Again, if you feel like you can live with the hull rotation speed being slow, you could drop that for silent driving, or you could run the snapshot to make the accuracy during rotation better. It's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. You also have 499 meters of view range, which is pretty damn good. Nearly 500 meters of view range is nothing to sniff at. You'll be able to spot people at very good distances with that. You've now got 21.72 degrees a second turret traverse, which is still very, very slow, but it is it's what, 1 degree a second, nearly 2 degrees a second better than it was. 1.28 accuracy during rotation now, which is lower than the 1.6 it was. It's still not very good, but it's better, obviously. 7.76 second reload, which is nearly 3.1k DPM, which again is better with the fully equipped setup, but still not great. You got 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters, which is, again, pretty good. You got 2.3 second aim time, which you will feel because that accuracy at 4.36 during movement and the rotation is not very good. So you will feel the 2.3 second aim time, and that can be a bit of pain generally for this vehicle. It kind of feels like a German tier 10 version of the Minotauro, but you lose the armor, any kind of armor generally. I mean, you bounce standard rounds pretty nicely, but premium rounds destroy you. For mobility, because obviously the Minotauro has very good frontal armor, but very slow. This vehicle is very, very quick, but the armor just doesn't hold up. Like I say, what I would do is make the turret armor leave the lower plate armor, but make the turret armor and the roof armor of this vehicle better, and it might actually stand a chance against premium rounds, especially when you put it into a good position where you hold down, and you might have a good time with it. But on the whole, so far, I really don't think it's that good of a tank, and it can be an absolute pain to play. Sometimes you feel like, yes, the armor works, this is great, and sometimes it's just pure pain because everything goes through you, and because your DPM isn't that good, you start to struggle. But, like I say, realistically, I would just probably buff the turret armor on this vehicle, and it might make quite a bit of difference to making it feel pretty decent. I mean, it's quite nice that it's an ultimate pass tank, and it's actually not crazy. That is definitely a bonus that it's not mental. Because, well, we don't need any more absolutely OP TDs going into tier 10, right? And everyone buying it, that's fine. But generally, it's not the greatest of vehicles in the universe. Is it worth picking up as opposed to the Leclerc T4 that was in the previous season pass? Probably not. But, yeah. That is the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST Turm. What we're going to do now is send you over to the replays where you can see this tank in action, see how it handles for yourself, and you'll see a little bit of what I'm talking about. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST, and we are on this map, which is Erlenberg. And on Erlenberg, we're going to have a fairly average game for the GST3. And so what we're doing is we are using the good mobility of this tank to get ourselves aggressively to the front line to be able to see if we can spot anyone that is crossing the JK line. And this is where I say the mobility of this tank is pretty damn good. As you can see, we're starting to fly towards 60 kilometers an hour, and especially when we're on flat, we can just use the good mobility of this tank to get into that early position. But you can also see just how big the aim circle's got. So we haven't aimed in yet and looked down the sniper mode, but as you can see when we were on the move, it was rather large. And as we've got to this aggressive position here on Erlenberg, we've not spotted anything. Nothing from their team seemed to come down the JK line. So you know what? I'm going to use the mobility of the vehicle once again to push aggressively across the bridge, get into the little gap dip at E6, and that way I should be able to cut out the people that are on their sniper ridge line. I say cut out, I mean spot, realistically. I should be able to spot them up, and then my team hopefully might be able to shut them down. And it just breaks the camp, because Erlenberg can obviously be a very, very big camp fest, and if you're not careful, it just ends up being one side sits on one side of the river, one side sits on the other, and it's just a bit awkward and a bit boring. But if you push to this position here, you can spot that campy ridgeline and start to break their defense by just lighting them up, and people from further away might be able to get the damage on them, or, you know, might be able to just help you out in general. Or it might just force them to be a bit more aggressive, because they can't poke and sit in the same spot. They have to come and try and deal with you generally. So we've managed to get our first shot of damage so far with 398 damage, 224 assistance, and the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST there, you can just see it goes straight through the turret roof. In fact, he went through the engine deck. He actually went through the top of the engine deck, because that is also 20mm of thickness, which means if any of his shells from higher up hit there, he will just overmatch it and he will pen it. So the position that the Tortoise and that guy are in can be a bit frustrating, because naturally, all they have to do is shoot the turret roof, and they will go through the turret roof with ease with the overmatch mechanics, which, pure pain for Mr. KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST, pure pain. So we've got rid of that Tortoise. That Tortoise got grilled, and most of their team, there's still 12 tanks on the enemy team left, and they are definitely all down the 9-0. And this position we're playing is still a little bit awkward for this vehicle because of the limited turret traverse. Again, you'll see in the limited turret traverse right here in what this vehicle is like. That's as far as this turret can turn, which again makes positions like what we're in right now fairly awkward, because we can only turn the turret so far, we can only poke around a corner in a certain way, which means that we have very high chances of overexposing ourselves and overexposing our side armor at times, which again can be pretty frustrating with the armor, and it just makes it a bit awkward. It just adds to the awkwardness of what this tank is like. So right here, by the way, is don't text and drive. Alright, this is don't text and drive. So we've come back to the life. We've come back to life. We're like, hello, no, I am playing the game. I'm not texting anymore. Woo! And, oh boy, there's people to shoot. So, we see the light tank. That EBR 105, look where he is. And I think, oh, you know, I kind of just want to push up. This battle has been very awkward for me in this situation. I don't really want to sit here for too much longer because I feel like I'm just stagnating. So you know what, I'm going to push up, get underneath their gun line, and go get ourselves hulled down and try and shoot the people in the back at D9. Because if we get onto the little ridge line where the 268 is, we should be able to shoot the back of those guys. And again, it means our team that are currently at A7 can actually progress, because they're a little bit stuck because they're just getting farmed by the guys at D9. So it should hopefully move our team on. We do take a hit from the sharpshooter though, which is a bit of a pain, because I was kind of hoping not to take that hit, because the 268 then actually just destroys in one hit, but the 268 we don't have to worry about anymore because he gets shut down by the Valor. So we're now farming the back of the newly buffed MBTB, who is having to turn to face us instead of our team at A7. As you can see, it means that they are starting to be able to move more freely. I kind of want to turn around and shoot the E5, but because the MBTB is still looking at us, I want to get rid of this guy, and there we go, we end up shutting him down. Now we can swivel around and go after the E5. You can just see how slow it turns. It's very, very slow to turn. And we've got shots at these C5's cupola. Now, I should load heat, because 265 penetration is not a guarantee to go through that guy's cupola, whereas the 310 heat probably will. But it's going to be a bit of a pain at this distance to be able to hit that, but thankfully, he gives us his side. We're up to 2.9k damage, 1700 assistance. Conqueror's a one-shot, but he ends up going down. So we can just see the turret of the AVRE, and because we didn't fully aim the shot, it flies over the top of the AVRE's turret. And this is the gun in general. It just feels that little bit derpy, that if you don't get it fully aimed, it will find anywhere within the aim circle to fly for miss. Like, again, we have the whole turret roof there of the AVRE, but it went low and hit the turret front instead, which is the bit that I couldn't pen. You can actually see a pen mark through the front of the turret cheek there, which is where I'm saying that if people are firing high pen, they can go through your turret cheeks, which is annoying. But we finished the game with that 3,300 damage, 1,700 assistance, 2 kills, the second class, with 1,234 base XP. A really average game there for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST on Erlenberg in a matchup that was fairly tier 10. And now we're into the second replay, and this second replay we are on this map, which is Overlord. And on Overlord, what I want to do is go to the little heavy tank brawly location at E9, and that way I can go hull down, I can try and use the turret armor to bounce stuff, and I can just work the ridge line and get the damage out consistently. Now Overlord's a bit of a pain, because you can see a lot of my team have gone to the beach and stayed there, which means we don't have much backup up here. And if what happens sometimes is that a lot of their team will come off the beach, it's not going to go very well. But if a lot of the team stay on the beach, it could be okay. It depends on how many actually come to this corner up here at E9, because it tends to be one of two ways that not many people go this way from either team, and then you have a lot of a brawl down at F4 or on the beach. Or one team full sends this location, you find there's like 7 or 8 tanks this way, and then the enemy team only sends 2. And you sit there going, oh, they're all on the beach, and you kill the 2 or 3 guys that are still up on top of the cliffs, and then go and murder the guys on the beach. That's the way Overlord goes. But we found that there's just this poor little Balsig who we fired HE at. We penned him with the first one. The second one didn't pen, but we finished off the Ramatar Balsig there with the final HE round in this tank. And now we're going after the Tier 8 Mercenary Premium Heavy Tank, the Rhino, who has that BL10, not BL10, that BL13 Defender gun, not the BL10. Could you imagine the 152 BL10 on this thing? Whew! On that thing, sorry. Whew! But yeah, no, it's got the Defender gun, so he's got 225 pen on his standard rounds and 265 penetration on his premium rounds. And this is what this guy is going to do to our armor. He's firing premium. He's firing APCR. He went straight through the lower plate. Straight through it, 265 penetration. And think that the armor on this thing is fairly well angled as well. He fires again and goes straight through our armor once again. And he's gone through the lower plate. 265 penetration. That was a Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tank. And that was what that guy just did to our armor. And this is what I say about this tank's armor. Sometimes it feels fine. Other times it just gets trashed. And you sit there going, what? So if the armor was more consistent, this tank would feel a lot better, but because of that inconsistency in the armor and the fact that it's just not that good, it can just be pure pain. So we're now shooting at this STRV 1030, who we can't actually pen with AP rounds because we cannot overmatch his armor. But if we fire heat rounds, because heat rounds have no normalization, they can actually just go straight through the STRV 1030's armor, no problem whatsoever. And we managed to pen that guy quite a lot. But his high pen standard rounds, or premium rounds generally, end up going straight through our turret front, even though we were hulled down. You can see, again, the penetration right there through the turret front, because he's got 288 on his standard and over 300 on his premium. He went, ah, lol, pen. And yeah, our hull down armor meant nothing. We did manage to bounce him twice before that, but that's where the inconsistency of this armor comes into play, and it's a bit frustrating in that regard, that they can just catch those shots. And that's where the gun derped a little bit as well, because I thought, oh, we're mostly aimed on this Ariete. We should be able to get the shot in to finish him off right. No, we tracked him only because the shot went low. We end up overextending because our mobility is really quick, but our track traverse is really poor. But thankfully, we do manage to get the shot in to finish off that Tier 8 Italian medium tank. And we finished the game with the epic victory. The 3 kills, 4.5k damage, which, again, that was a fairly average game for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST Turm. And you think about the tanks that we faced in that. Did we face any Tier 10s? No. We faced Tier 9s and Tier 8s. And yet our armor didn't really hold up that well. Yes, we blocked about 1700 in the end, but that's because the Ariete couldn't really pen us. But as soon as we faced that 260 plus pen, our armor did just start to become a bit like, oh, yeah, this isn't that nice, and yeah, it's a bit painful for the GST Turm in that regard. But now we're on to the third replay. In the third replay, we're on Himmelsdorf. And on Himmelsdorf, what I want to do is take this position through this window, because I should be able to get shots down this little 3 line and get some shots at the people that do tend to go sit at the end of the line where the T114 battalion is and where this Jagdpanzer 2 is. So we did manage to get a shot at the Jagdpanzer 2 at the start, but we only tracked it. But we did manage to get a shot through his lower plate, which is glorious. And we're just going to use the good gun depression this vehicle has to put the shots down range. And you can see the gun handling in this one and how slow it is to get aimed in. Now, I figured I was actually going to reload slower than the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST that was on my left. So I went for the T114 battalion because I fired after the GST that was on my left and somehow reloaded before him. And I didn't want to have that situation, you know, where that really annoying situation where you fire literally the split second after someone else fires and then you go, oh, what was the point? They've died now. I didn't want that. And, well, yeah. It didn't happen. I actually had a better reload. He must not have his crew spec'd out to have better reload. I don't know. It is what it is. We're up to 1,500 damage and 423 assistance. And to be honest, what I'm trying to do is bait this 4005 into shooting me. Because what I want from him is AP rounds. But this man is just firing the Hesh. And you can see the Hesh 240 pen doesn't go through our frontal armor. And with 240 pen, he won't go through our frontal armor. Unless he gets exceptionally lucky, firing slightly down on our turret roof or something like that. He's not actually going to pen our armor with that. But I wanted him to fire his high pen AP rounds, because at this point, I think this was the second game I played. And I wanted to see just if I could bounce an AP round from the 4005. You know, about a 183, 300 plus penetration AP round, see if how the armor held up to it. I was just baiting for it, but it didn't happen because he fired Hesh at us twice, splashed us twice, and we're down to 677 hit points. But now we know he's fired. The gun lets us down there, mostly on the turret there of the 4005, but it misses. Aiming, making sure that that gun's going to hit the 4005, and he gets shut down by the 416. We didn't want that guy to live any longer than he had to. Now we're going down the line to see if we can get after the Pershing, but we see there's people on the hill, and the people on the hill might be able to give us some free shots. And this is where the camo is pretty decent, because we've got that really nice camo on this vehicle. We're firing up at the hill, and these guys, if we're in any other tank, would probably be ending up spotting us when we were firing in the first shell at him. We managed to get 2 shots so far into this T-54E1 without getting spotted. Unfortunately, we didn't track and pen the T-54E1 here, and I was kind of hoping to do it again. But sadly, we only track him once again. I was fully expecting to track and pen him, but it doesn't go that way. So we're going to aim for the turret to get the penetration. We go through the turret front there of that guy, and we'll leave him on to a one-shot. So we see the T-114 battalion and the Pershing. The Pershing gets destroyed. Wait and see if anyone else decided to drive around the castle, which the Object 268 version 5 decided to. It's like, hello, Mr. Version 5. Thank you so much for driving around the castle. Just let me put a shot into the back end, and the other GST on the hill ends up finishing him off. Just wondering where that T-54E1 had gone, because I didn't want to really drive out to get shots at this AVRE and then start getting auto-loaded. But we seem to be okay, so we drive out for the AVRE to get some shots in. We get a shot into the side of his turret, aiming for his back end there, and sadly, it just goes a little bit to the right, and we end up hitting truly the far back end of the vehicle and just ricocheting. But we do get the shot into the side of the AVRE this time that tracks him in place. Just waiting on the reload, hopefully get to finish him off, and we do get to do it. Like I say, this reload is pretty slow for 400 alpha, but it's just one of those that, again, I could probably live with the 6.5 second reload if my armor worked. If my armor worked, I would have a good time with this vehicle, because I could use the decent camo I can get out of it. I could get myself to aggressive positions using this fantastic mobility. I mean, I'm going 62 kilometers an hour at the minute. The mobility on this vehicle is fantastic, which means you can get to very good aggressive positions where you could spot out quite easily. You could go hull down quite easily, and if you could bounce stuff reliably off the turret front, you could have a good time with the vehicle. But because of that inconsistency, like you saw in the last replay, where against that STRV 1030, we're like, we bounced. Oh no, he penned us, right? It can be just deeply frustrating. We finished that second game with the 1300 base XP, the 5.7k damage. Pretty damn nice game in reality for the GST Turm there on Himmelsdorf. But yeah, it's the way it is with this tank. So, I mean, with the balancing of it, at least, am I happy? It's not absolutely mental. Everyone's going to get a Tyrann-esque vehicle, you know, where it's just stupid. Yeah, obviously. But do we want tanks that are terrible? No, we want tanks that have good points and bad points. That's balancing, right? And this tank has, I'd say, too many bad points for the good points. And I'd say the only real good point of this vehicle is the fact that the mobility is so good. But yeah, everything else about the tank kind of just sucks in a way. And that's why I say if they had the good mobility and the good armor, I would be happy enough with it, right? So this is the final replay of the video, and it's the best game I've had in the tank. And we're on Nebelberg. And on Nebelberg, I'm just pushing around the castle to see if anyone wants to attack me, because this is kind of a perfect position for me. I can angle my armor at a decent angle, and then I can basically try and use the little bits of rubble to keep myself all down, or just make it so it's awkward for these vehicles to be able to get shots at us. So we are spotting this middle area. That poor Conway. We got a shot through his upper plate. He went, oh, there's no one else with this guy. I can shoot. Oh my god, 1,100 hit points, 4,005 said. Hi. So the VK4502A pens us there. And I was like, oh, okay. He pens us again. And I'm sitting there going, what? You could see the penetration market. He penned us on the turret roof. He overmatched the turret roof there, which again adds to the pain of this vehicle. He's got very low pen. He's not even firing APCR. He was firing 200 pen AP. And he penned our turret roof just purely because he overmatched it, which is, again, deeply frustrating for this vehicle. The 20mm of roof armor is a bit of pain, especially if anyone has any sort of slight elevation on you. They do go through the turret roof, and it's so annoying on this tank. It really is. We're up to 2018 damage with 1,152 assistance, and we see this T92. Put a nice shot through the side of the T92 there, or for the front of the T92. And because we didn't get shot in the side when we came round after the VK, I thought, okay, there's nothing on their back ridge. Let's push across, use the good mobility, get to the turret, get hull down, and laugh. But we end up taking a hit we do take a hit there from their sniper hill, which means there is stuff over there, so we've got to be very careful. But we're in a good position now to shoot the light tank and the TDs if they push across this open ground. So we get one shot into the RU, we get a second shot into the RU, but we get lit up by this T-92, and I realise, oh boy, if there is stuff on that ridge, they're going to be able to shoot me here, so I have to get moving as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, we take 2 hits there from what seemed to be an autoloader at the back. We take 2 hits from a T-92 and the Mantis. The Mantis is actually firing heat rounds, and we managed to just about survive that guy's run-in, and we managed to get rid of the T-92 as well. I watched that Mantis. Now, that Mantis is currently going back round the hill, and I'm thinking, right, that guy is very clearly on his reload. He is going to drive back up at F45 the moment he's reloaded. We couldn't quite get the awkward shot at the Sturm Tiger P, so we're just going to go sit, get ready for this Mantis to reappear. Because it's like, go on then, Mr. Mantis, try it. Let's go, buddy. He pops up, puts a shot through his lower plate, which sets him on fire. He's now a one-shot, waiting on the reload, hopefully going to finish him off. He crashes. We should have just used the main first-person sniper mode, because we tried to free aim it, and sadly, we ended up missing that guy, which means he just gets away with it, which is deeply frustrating. We're up to 3.9k damage, 2.8k assistance. The 268 version 5 drives out in the open, so we try and get a shot into his side, and sadly, we ricochet off the back of his turret, because, well, it wasn't that well aimed, and it wasn't aimed in properly, so it just hit the back of the turret and ricocheted, even though we had most of his side, but that's because the poor gun handling on the move, plus we didn't give it time to aim right. So I'm fully expecting something to either pop up on my left or something to attack me on my right. So I'm just keeping my eye on it. There's the Mantis from earlier. I'm thinking if I can get rid of this Mantis, it'll be great. But I can't pull too far forward around this turret, because there is that tank destroyer, sorry, in their campy spawn that is trying to shoot at us. We get a tracking shot into the Sturm Tiger P. The Mantis took the opportunity to get a shot at us. We kill him, and at this point I'm thinking, oh boy, I'm dead. If he fires HE, he's going to kill me. We hit the lower plate and we fired before the Sturm Tiger P. We hit the lower plate and we bounced. But thankfully, he fired AP, which means he bounced. And we get exceptionally lucky there that we got to survive. But at the same time, he also got very lucky that he was alive, because that shot really shouldn't have ricocheted off his lower plate there. So we'll take RNG giveth and RNG taketh, right? We're up to 4.7k damage to 2.8k assistance. The 4 kills, it's currently 7-8, so we are currently losing, but a lot of our team are just camping up on... It's Campbellberg. It's Campbellberg doing what Campbellberg does. A lot of our team are camping up on C9, which means they're in a good position to camp and cut out anyone that comes out of the town, and that is what's happening. They're all getting spotted as they come out of the town, and they're getting farmed. So we're going to move into a position to counter them and get shots into their side. So we shut down the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST. We've now got a perfect shot to shut down the Leopard, and that's 2 kills in the bag. We're up to a Top Gun. Glorious scenes. The other KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST is in a position for us to shoot, but sadly, he ends up getting shut down. We've now got the 430 version 2 in front of us. It's like, hello, Mr. 7th kill. Just as we get there, the 430 version 2 gets shut down. That was 2 tanks in a row. We've gone, oh, 7 kill. Oh, he's dead. Sad times. We're keeping ourselves pointing forward in case there's anything else down there, but in fact, there is an RU-251 that's progressing along the 0 line. We missed that shot on the 251. He's now a one-shot, and again, I'm thinking, oh, 7 kills. But the gun derps, it goes low, and we hit only the tracks and no tank. Just as we reload, he gets shut down by the M46. We're so close to 7 kills. It's one of those that it's like, oh, we can get 7 kills. Oh, we don't get 7 kills. Oh, we can get 7. Oh, we don't get 7 kills. One of those games, you know. And the last KanonenJagdpanzer GST Turm gets shut down by the 4005 million. There's only 1 tank left. And once again, it is a Gasaur. It's Mr. Gsaur 1008. And we know exactly where he was. God knows where he is now, but I'm just guessing that he's still camping in his campy spawn. So what I'm going to do is pop some blind shots. We're going to pop some blind shots towards where I thought roundabouts he could have been, because you never know, we might get a cheeky hit. And if we got spotted, there's every likelihood that he might try and take a shot at us, and we might be able to get, you know, not be able to spot him as he fires. But nothing's happening so far, and in fact, the fact that that guy didn't even see us when we were firing blind means that he probably doesn't have a very good crew. He's trying to shoot at my TD that's progressing, and thankfully we managed to get to the 7th kill finally on the 3rd attempt and finish the game with a pretty damn good game there for the KanonenJagdpanzer 3 GST Turm. We finished with the victory, 7 kills, 5.5k damage, the 1849 base XP, 2.8k assist as well, with the ace tanker, devastator, top gun, high caliber. And like I say, that 1849 base XP, a really great game there for the Kanonen 3 GST Turm. Like I say, it's a tank that I don't think is that great. I just wish the armour was better on the vehicle, then it would be a lot more worth of a pickup. But on the whole, it's just not that good of a tank. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.